Today is Thursday, July 7, 2016. This is the Government News Brief. Welcome. In the news, CARICOM heads of government's conference a success, a national climate change policy is being developed to address climate change in Guyana, and special cabinet subcommittee set up to review audit reports. Stay tuned for the details of these and other stories. Thank you for staying with us. I am Azim Khan. Here are the details. Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community CARICOM 37th meeting wrapped up on Wednesday. The three-day conference was declared a success by incoming Chairman Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerritt. Details in this report.
The heads of government at the 37th meeting addressed several pressing matters, including security, the Caribbean Single Market and Economy (CSME), and Brexit. The Caribbean Single Market and Economy (CSME) is seen as the vehicle for regional integration. Incoming Chairman Skerritt says the heads agreed to a comprehensive review of the CSME at the next intersessional meeting.
Now, that review is in an effort to take the process forward and not to change any or to revisit any of the actions that we've taken thus far to strengthen the integration process.
Member states have pledged to intensify public awareness campaigns in their countries to highlight the benefits and provisions of the CSME.
The CARICOM Commission on the Economy also reported to us and set out several recommendations aimed at fiscal sustainability, private sector stimulation, improving the business regulatory environment, moving towards sustainable growth and resource mobilization.
The CSME, CARICOM believes, is the only mechanism for the region to obtain sustainable growth and development. Security also received major attention from CARICOM heads of government, who approved a review of the crime and security strategy. The discussion was focused on deepening and strengthening cooperation between member states in relation to security and the introduction of an arrest warrant treaty.
The arrest warrant treaty would enhance law enforcement ability to address matters of cross-border crimes. So if we were to enter into this treaty, if someone from Dominica were to commit a crime in Dominica and move to St. Vincent, then these Vincentian authorities would be able to have him arrested and repatriated to Dominica to face charges.
Enhancing the security of the region is essential to stabilizing the region. Hence, the role of the CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security Impacts remains essential in addressing crime and security. In relation to Brexit, CARICOM discussed extensively the United Kingdom's exit from the European Union.
What we are maintaining is that the Caribbean community will continue to have excellent relations with the United Kingdom on its own and continue to have excellent relations with the European Union, less the United Kingdom.
The loss of correspondent banking due to de-risking, the border crisis between Guyana and Venezuela, Belize and Guatemala, and the stateless Haitians were also addressed at the CARICOM meeting. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
A national climate change policy is being crafted to guide all sectors in Guyana. Details in this report.
The Office of Climate Change will be working with international partners and sectoral agencies over the next 6 months to create a national climate change policy. Head of the Office of Climate Change, Janelle Christian, says that the initiative is to ensure that there is collective action across all sectors.
The focus of the office now, in discussion with our partners and through networking, is to receive the necessary support, technical, financial, and otherwise, to establish the policy framework and also the institutional framework. The policy framework in terms of a national climate change policy, which would guide development of sectoral plans. We currently do not have a national climate change policy.
At the Paris Climate Conference, COP21, in December 2015, 195 countries adopted the first ever legally binding global climate deal. The agreement sets out a global action plan to put the world on track to avoid dangerous climate change by limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius. The agreement is due to enter into force in 2020.
Because what it requires is for there to be collective action. If we are to maintain our contribution to carbon dioxide contribution as spelled out in the Paris Agreement to 1.5, it means that we need to take action across all sectors.
Another area of priority for the Office of Climate Change is the mobilization of climate financing. There are several international mechanisms for climate financing to help countries like Guyana to fund initiatives for climate change adaptation and mitigation.
We have the Green Climate Fund. There's also the Adaptation Fund. In fact, Guyana is one of the first countries that will benefit from readiness preparation for the Green Climate Fund through the CARICOM community, it's a Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. We have received a $300,000 grant for readiness and preparation.
The grant became effective on June 21, 2016. It would see the contracting of consultants to help with the strengthening of National Designated Authority, the public consultation and preparation of the country's strategic framework of projects to be submitted for financing. The Office of the Climate Change was established in 2009 primarily to support the work that was initiated when Guyana developed its low-carbon development strategy. Renetta LaFleur for the Government News Brief.
The integration of the East Demerara Sugar Estates is to be completed by the start of the second crop.
The process of integrating Gaisuko's Lebon Intention LBI and Enmore Estates is to be completed soon, says Chief Executive Officer Errol Hanneman.
The whole idea is to make East Demerara a more efficient operation. Yeah? And that's what we're doing. We're completing a process that was started in 2011.
What percentage of that process would you say is completed?
Well, I'm hoping that by the time we start the crop in July, that will have been completed.
The rationalization of operations at the two estates started in 2011 to increase efficiency and reduce production costs, but was left incomplete with milk dock, field labs, and a field workshop duplicated at the estates, Hanneman explains.
What this situation was doing is taking the cost of production of East Demerara through the roof. And there's no way that we could allow that to continue. So all that we are doing is completing the integration of LBI and Enmore Estate.
Meanwhile, staff from the LBI estates are to be redeployed, says Hanneman.
There are vacancies at the Enmore Estate as well. So wherever we can fill vacancies with those people who are no longer required at LBI, those vacancies are being filled. So that we don't expect that there'll be a very significant number of people being made redundant.
The government's thrust is to reorganize and diversify Gaisuko as a means of making it profitable and independent of government subventions. For the current year, the company has already received in excess of $21 million from government. Government News Brief, Glendon Greenwich.
A special cabinet subcommittee is set up to examine the completed audit reports. Find out more in this report.
A cabinet subcommittee has been established to examine the audit reports for criminal and negligent conduct, says Minister within the Ministry of Finance, Jaipal Sharma.
The special subcommittee of cabinet, and they will look at it and they will decide who they will in terms of the prosecution aspect, who would they prosecute in terms of sending it to the police. Then there are disciplinary issues, right? So the disciplinary issues is sent to the board.
With a majority of forensic audits completed and citizens calling for charges to be laid against several former government operatives, Sharma says patience is needed.
Before you to the Trinidad issue, that's CY that's referred to. That CY was started in 2011 March and concluded in May of 2013 in terms of interviews with people. They accumulated 5 million pages of documents. And they were looking only at CLICO, right? And I think the Hindu Credit Union charge a complaint that was laid. So that's the amount of paperwork you have to go through. So it's not anything simple.
The Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, of the Guyana Police Force has been tasked with investigating alleged criminal acts identified by the auditors.
The departments with the most experience happens to be SOCU, which happens to be the entity responsible for investigating matters of financial crime, right? So we get that issue on which the opposition would say that, look, why are you giving SOCU to investigate this thing? Because they're supposed to be looking at anti-money laundering, at conquering the finance of terrorism. But you would have a team of qualified people, paying them every month, sitting down doing nothing.
After national and regional elections in May 2015, the newly formed government commissioned forensic audits into the operations of several departments of government. The audits have revealed many breaches in operational procedures and financial impropriety. Kidaki Amsterdam for Government News Brief.
The draft framework for the Hinterland Sustainable Development Project was presented to Cabinet, and the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs is awaiting its approval to commence the implementation process. Here is Sanika Thorne with this report.
The framework is aimed at providing financial and technical support to indigenous communities for achieving sustainable development targets. Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Sydney Allicock says that the document will seek to address critical issues in health services, education, environmental preservation, traditions and culture, and governance.
This framework is critical, and I want to commend you, I want to congratulate you for all the years of your hard work, and to also thank CI for being consistent within this region. I think Region 9 is very fortunate to have been given this opportunity. As was told to you, the framework, after discussion with CI and other stakeholders, was able to be placed at cabinet level, and after a few times we were able to get the go-ahead. We are only awaiting the document.
Minister Allicock was delivering remarks at a two-day workshop organized by the Kanuku Mountain Community Representative Group to sensitize Indigenous leaders and other stakeholders on the Hinterland Sustainable Development Projects. Conservation International is in the process of conducting its final discussions on the framework as part of an effort to ensure that there is not any overlapping of projects amongst ministries. Minister Allicock explains.
This framework, I'm hoping and praying that we could be able to see the development as the development of all included, or all participants, and not to fight for turf. We have had the experience of, like the PS said, other ministries overlapping without that smooth planning and implementation. And here is where the region plays a great role in this. Remember, all regions now, the powers of authority within the regional system. And as the REO said, the PS rather, we are the oversight ministry. We have our CDOs, we have the DDOs, and we have recognized that to be successful, we need more players.
This draft document is the first phase of the execution of the Memorandum of Understanding, which was signed between the Ministry and Conservation International. The MOU aims to enhance sustainable development of indigenous communities in keeping with Guyana's green economy efforts. For the Government News Brief, Seneca Thorne reporting.
That concludes today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories are on GINA's website. We encourage you to stay updated and subscribe to our website and YouTube channel. Do join us again tomorrow when we bring you another edition of this, the Government News Brief. Thank you for watching.